When you are a follower of Christ and you in the workplace, you're two things. Number one, you're a leader, and number two, you're the model employee. Let me give you an example. So back in the day, I was working at the prison, and in this prison, it was a very chaotic work environment. So as you can see, I've worked in a lot of chaotic environments. So to be honest with you, working at the job, it did come with structure, right? So the management team was on one accord when it came to making sure that everything was in place and everything was organized, right? The policies and the procedures. But the language was so filthy. To be honest with you, that's when I really began cursing so much and dirty talk so much because that's what I was always surrounded by. And then you're dealing with inmates and the way that they talk to each other and the way that they pop off, with the correction officers and the counselors and the nurses. So it's just always something going on. Not to mention the employees. The employees was always beefing and then they were also fornicating together. So it was drama because, of course, this guy was messing with other girls and this girl was messing with other guys. And one guy really liked her. And it was just a whole bunch of mess. Now, the one guy that stood out to me was this guy named Thomas. And Thomas was the light in that prison. Now, this didn't have anything to do with his physical features or anything. It was just his spirit. It would be times where all the guys in the prison would be talking about, yeah, that boy, she thick. You know what I'm saying? Did you see her with that smile? Boy, I'm trying to tell you right now. Just getting into all of the worldly things. And Thomas would never participate. If anything, he would just kind of like be quiet and he would remove himself from the conversation. If you was a woman and you was around him, you never had to worry about touching the door or lifting anything heavy. If you was a man and you was carrying something heavy, he would always assist and help you with it. It was many times where it was short staffed, so he would have to work like two dorms at the same time. And the two dorms that he would have to work would be dangerous, like very large, like 250 inmates at one time. So he handling one dorm that's 250 inmates and another dorm that's 250 inmates. And he would do it. He would never complain. That was just not a part of his character. He was very kind hearted and he operated in humility, but he also had a confidence about him too. So even when inmates would try to rile up or buck on him, he would show them that he was not the one to play with, but he would never open his mouth to talk down on them or disrespect them in any way. Matter of fact, out of all the correction officers in that facility, if they didn't respect anybody, they respected him. I got to keep going on Thomas because I'm not finished. The way that he came to work, when I tell you boots was shine, he always had a nice haircut, hands was clean, uniform clean, shining, nice, baby blue button up. I mean, everything was creased up. He came to work like he enjoyed. He could have hated that job, but I would have never knew it. And Thomas would always have like small talk with me. And so one day he came down to where I was working at. And I just told him how I felt. I was like, Thomas, I really admire the way that you carry yourself. Like, you are just like somebody I've never met outside of my dad. Like, and me and him the same age. But it's like he would carry himself like he was 40 years older than me. Like he was just like an old school, southern, respectful, kind hearted, loving, non judgmental man. And at that time, I was in the world. I wasn't really following Christ like that. So I was just like, what is it? Like, why every day? Why are you just made like that? Because Thomas was the model employee. So he looked at me dead in my eyes and he said, hey, Lee, I don't deserve any credit at all, man. All that go to my Father in heaven. That's what you see when you see me. You see God's glory. I'm just doing the best that I can to be the vessel. The way that Thomas carried himself, that alone made me want to follow God, y'all. That alone made me want to pick up my Bible and get back in church. Now, that ain't to say to go to your job and then be trying to work 12 extra hours of overtime and then you got to stress yourself. No, it just meaning like, man, I could tell that Thomas was doing his work unto the Lord. He wasn't doing it for human validation. He wasn't doing it to earn brownie points for the supervisors and the managers. He was just doing his job because he knew that that's what he was supposed to do as a Christian. And that alone, it would be to the point where employees would come around him and they would change their personality around him because of the way that he carried himself. They would look at him and they would be like, yeah, man, you need me? It'll be to the point where he would inspire others in the workplace. The guys in the workplace would be like, yeah, boy, you know what I'm saying? I just dropped all my uniforms off at the clinic. I'm trying to look like Thomas. I ain't finna let you outdo me. And the girls will be like, I just really want a man like Thomas. I want a God fearing man like Thomas. I want somebody who humble and confident. And it wasn't that Thomas was in the workplace preaching with the Bible in hand and talking about the 10 Commandments of God's grace. He was just a model employee, and he didn't have to accumulate a sweat to do so. He was always on time. He never missed a day of work. Highly dependable, highly respectful to others. He never gossiped. He did his job, and he never cut corners in anything he did. Never used profanity, and he always helped his fellow coworker. Whatever he could do to assist you with what you needed, he was always there to help. And he never complained. Let me say this one more time. He never complained. So I said all that to say the way that you carry yourself in your workplace, it means everything. And always remember, your life is never about you. Baby, you died to your will when you became a follower of Christ. It's about how can you be of service to other people. Remember, we are here to spread the good news. How do I spread the good news at work? By the way you represent Christ in your workplace. Sometimes it's not about you introducing somebody to God. Sometimes it's just solely about the way that you carry yourself and the way you treat people and the way you operate in humility and operate in servitude. And I'm going to leave y'all with this question. Based on the way that you carry yourself in your workplace, could non-believers watch you and be inspired to maybe attempt to give God a chance? And if the question is no, it ain't no beating up on you because it ain't no condemnation in Christ. But now you know how to pray so you can change.